See, the truth is, we're all seeking confidence. But if you're someone...
Was I good enough to get through Princeton?
Because comparing yourself...
Things confident men do that women...
And society says...
By trying to nourish myself, by taking...
The most important thing? Self-confidence.
Supremely confident. When they enter the room...
Today, I'm going to be going over...
How are you so confident? Why are you so confident? Have you always been confident growing up? These are questions that have been asked a few times in my life. To be completely honest, I never really asked myself these questions while growing up. But now, reflecting on my journey so far, firstly moving from Mauritius at 18 to live in the UK, and now in Dubai on my own for a job, graduating from Oxford University and then Cambridge for my PhD, starting a podcast, giving a TEDx talk on girls' education, and launching my own YouTube channel, I can see the growth of my own confidence over the years. And it is very interesting how each one of us has different things that makes us feel more confident. The good news is that confidence is a trait that can be learned and improved, as put so nicely by Priyanka Chopra.
Recognizing that confidence is not something we are born with. It's a skill. It's like, it's a muscle almost, if you think of it.
Hello and welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Sheen. I am an Oxford and Cambridge graduate currently working as a consultant in Dubai. And on this channel, we usually explore ways of improving your professional career life. But today I want to talk to you about confidence. And by confidence, I mean both in your professional life and your personal life. I guess I've been quite lucky because growing up as a kid, I never really questioned my confidence. And I think that's probably due to a multiple set of reasons, because my parents were supportive and I grew up in a brown family where everyone was an overachiever, and therefore you are pushed to do better and better, and I was always encouraged in my abilities and celebrated for them, but also loved unconditionally. So a lot of these things come into play into making the fact that I never questioned my confidence growing up. But then once I got to university, many times I was asked this question of like, how are you so confident? Or, people might be intimidated by you because you come across as a very confident woman. And also being told that this is very unusual. So I've been asking myself this question and trying to think and trying to understand, where does this come from? And I've asked people around me, my friends, my colleagues. I've also gone on Instagram and asked people what makes them confident, because I personally think it's a really hard question to answer, but people came back with so many answers, and the main gist of it is that people seem to think that they feel most confident when they're either really prepared, or they're looking their best, or they've done their best for something, or, like going to the gym, wearing your best clothes, or wearing red lipstick, or where you've done many, many hours of revision for an exam. And it comes from either preparation or looking your best. These were like the two main things that came out of this. So if we go back to the initial definition of what confidence is that trust in your abilities and in your performance, and in the fact that, you are perceived as cool. So now when we try to put these two next to each other, it becomes quite clear that in order for people to believe in themselves, in their abilities, in themselves and their potential, really comes from a lot of preparation and having done homework on it, or having worked on it, which is a good thing, of course, but at the same time, it's also a question of, do you always need to have prepared for something in order to feel confident for it? Right? And I think there is a quote that I absolutely love, which is from Henry Ford, and he says that whether you think you can or you think you can't, you are right. Which means that the story that we tell ourselves has a great impact on our behavior and the outcome of situations for us. So what I mean by this is, for example, if you tell yourself before an interview that, look, I've done my preparation, I know I've got this, I should believe that I've got this. You go in with confidence and you come across as confident, right? But then if you are nervous and now you're being like, oh, I might have prepared, but they might not like me, or maybe I did not prepare as much as that person, the whole comparison game starts. And then when you go in, you're a bit nervous, you might come across as agitated and nervous, you will make silly mistakes. So it's a vicious cycle, right? And of course, when we talk about confidence, there are two sides of it. There's the innate confidence, and there is what you come across as, whether you come across as confident or not. And a lot of people will say that confidence is kind of a show and that it is an act that we all put on, which is probably true in most cases, because it is a bit of, if I tell myself I am confident, even if I don't feel it, I will come across as confident. And therefore, because that will go well, that will reinforce the fact that, okay, maybe I am a confident person. So it is a positive loop if you want to go that way. So for me, I think what really built it for me, after going to Oxford and Cambridge and, being in those elite places where you're surrounded by the best of the best accordingly, and then you go in with that mindset of, oh my God, I am the first person from Mauritius to have gone to both, for example, the first girl. And being in those places, you are acutely aware of the fact that people like you do not usually come here. So now it can affect your confidence. It affected my confidence a little bit at the start, where you feel like, oh my God, these people are so much better than me. I need to prove myself. I need to make sure that, I am looking my best. I am performing my best. I know everything that I need to know. But then when you go to these places, you realize that, wait a minute, I can run circle around these people, right? And then you think, okay, great. So I do not have to prove myself. And once you go through that a few times, you start to realize that, okay, like whatever title someone has, whatever privilege they come from, doesn't mean anything in terms of their abilities compared to my abilities, right? And that really built up my confidence in terms of, I'm never fazed by people, whether they are famous, whether they are incredibly rich. I am not fazed by them, because I'm not saying that I will not be impressed by someone's work. I will be. I'll be impressed by someone's good nature, by someone's personality, but I will never feel inferior. I will never go in feeling less confident or feeling a bit shy to talk to somebody, because I have seen the best of the best people. I have been lucky and privileged myself, of course, to be in these places and to feel like, okay, it's not all that. And we need to break this thing that we're being sold, that, we need to prove ourselves, we need to prepare, we need to, up our confidence, and in order to be able to stand up to shoulder with the bigger people. No. We are here, we deserve to be here, we are okay. All of this was a long-winded way for me to tell you that I have a few actionable tips that I have personally used myself, and I think are very, very helpful to remind yourself of, what is important to you, to convince yourself that you are confident, but it's not even convincing yourself, it's more reminding yourself of your abilities and why you should believe in yourself, and then how to go about life. I have 3 very, very simple tips, and let's get into them. The first thing is, we need to let go of our perceived obstacles or labels, right? And what I mean by this is, a lot of times we decide for ourselves, what is this big obstacle that we have? It can be that I don't have that degree, I don't have that job that I want, I don't have money, I don't look a certain way. So all of these things are perceived obstacles or labels, right, that we call ourselves. It can be unemployed, uneducated, poor, or fat. All of these things are things that we label ourselves with. So this very simple exercise is identifying your obstacle. What do you think is the one thing that makes you feel a lot less confident, right? And it's very easy to do that. I saw this in a TED talk somewhere. Just ask yourself, right? My life would be perfect if blank. And then in that blank, you will know exactly what it is. We all have something that we think about, and you will put it there. And then that's your perceived obstacle. Now that you've identified it, you can think about, okay, let's say this is not a problem anymore. Let's say, you really want this job and you've been trying for many years. And let's say you have the job now. What does your life look like? Visualize it, Think, okay, you have the job now. you wake up in the morning, where do you live, what do you wear, what does your day look like, where do you go? Because there's this really famous quote from like the Harvard psychology study or something, where they say that the brain doesn't differentiate between a real memory and an imagined one. So therefore, imagine, right? The happiness that we feel from a good memory, you can feel the same way about an imagined memory, right? So if you visualize this and you think about it in details, your brain will think that this is something that has happened. This is a memory. And therefore, you will feel the same way. It will become real to you. And then the easy thing to do is ask yourself, why are you waiting before you're able to live that life? Because everything that comes with it is not necessarily linked to the obstacle that you are trying to get rid of, right? Let's say that someone wants to be a size 0, and now they think that, okay, when I'm a size 0, I'll be able to buy all the colors that I want to wear. I can boldly wear whatever I want. I'll be traveling the world. But you can do all of this without being a size 0, right? So this is just this perceived obstacle that your weight is stopping you from getting that, right? Getting to that life that you think is going to be perfect for you. And then you choose now how to address this obstacle. Now that you've visualized the life, you're choosing to live that life. Now let's see, how can we make it happen? If it is about, a job that you want but you're not getting, and you want that lifestyle that comes with it, there are different ways, right? Now you can either prep harder for the job, find other people that can help you, choose a different route of getting into that job, maybe start with another job that can lead to that, or look for different outlets. And if it is about, you want to wear colorful clothes and you want to travel, how do you make that happen? How do you build a budget for that? How do you build your life around this? And now you start to make practical steps to live the life that you want, rather than to have the excuse that there is this obstacle that I need to change before I'm able to lead that life, because that is not true. And all of this will lead to you believing in your abilities and seeing yourself in a new light, where you are not burdened by these labels that you're associating with yourself. And therefore, whenever you enter a room, whenever you are with other people, you will not feel underconfident, because you don't feel like you're being dragged down by these obstacles that are perceived by you, that are not necessarily obstacles. And therefore, this is a big step into accepting who you are and into moving towards improving your life still, but without this negative connotation and without feeling underconfident. Now, the second thing is that happiness comes from within. And I've talked about the innate confidence, and all of this comes from within, from our identity. And our identity is based on, our values, our self-worth, our truth. All of this feed into how we approach life in every situation. And there is this really cool analogy that Ed Millett came out with, and I think it is absolutely mind-blowing, right? And he talks about how our identity is basically our thermostat, right? You know how in houses we have a thermostat, and what it does is that it regulates the inside temperature of the home. So what it does in Dubai, for example, is it brings down the temperature of the house because it is so hot outside. But in the UK, we need to heat up the houses because it's mostly cold outside. And this is really interesting, right? Because whatever the external condition is, the interior of the home stays the same, because there is this thing that is regulating the temperature and therefore not letting us notice any changes in the external conditions. And that's exactly what our identity should do to us, right? So whatever external conditions are there, whatever social group you're in, whatever is being said to you, whoever else is next to you when you're comparing yourself to them, this should not affect how you view yourself. And this is where your identity comes in, right? It is just regulating your confidence, and therefore it should not let external factors affect how you perceive yourself and therefore how you behave. I think this is so, so cool, because again, it brings into like all of the things that we talk about, the spotlight effect, where we constantly think that other people are thinking about us or like watching what we're doing and paying attention to our every move. But it is not true, because we each feel like there is this spotlight on us and everyone is looking at us. But because every one of us feel the same way, we're actually not looking at everyone else, because we just think that everyone is looking at us, so we're so focused on ourselves. But that's exactly what everyone else is doing, and therefore no one is looking at each other. But there is this perceived idea that everyone is looking at us. But if we have this right identity thermostat, it is going to tell you that that is not true. And it doesn't matter if people are looking at you. It doesn't matter if people are saying things about you. It doesn't matter if people are doing better than you. None of this will affect you because you believe in yourself. You believe in your abilities. You believe in your path, and you're confident in what you're doing and who you are. Right? And this is why it's so important to work on our own identity, on recognizing what are our values, what matters to us, what is our self-worth, and what are the truths for us. You know, what really matters to me does not necessarily mean it's going to matter to someone else, and that is absolutely fine. But we should be clear about what matters to us, and therefore what are the different settings that we're putting into our own personal thermostat, right? And then, of course, we can further invest into ourselves by, you know, mastering several skills, because again, whatever you do that is helping strengthen this muscle of your identity, where you know what matters to you, now you know what skills you want to learn and why you want to learn these things, and you keep learning while you're moving ahead in life, but you're learning things that matters to you. You're not learning things that just because someone else is, or because that's trendy at the moment, but which is why you will then feel less confident because the foundations are not that strong. But if you know exactly who you are and what you want to do, then you can learn things that will just strengthen that muscle, and then you keep progressing in life where you keep learning new things, you're constantly mastering new things, and therefore you keep adjusting your thermostat as well, so that you are also evolving, but at the same time, you're not being held back by your identity, but it's flourishing with you. And therefore, you keep progressing. And again, new evolving external conditions will again not be affecting you. So I think that's beautiful. And that's why we need to keep investing in ourselves to make sure that we're keeping ourselves happy, we're keeping true to who we are, we're keeping true to our values, because that builds your confidence, because this will protect you from this like external conditions that can affect how you approach life, and therefore you feel a lot more confident in your coolness and into your abilities. And moving on from that, the third thing is social optimism, which you will come across a lot when people talk about advice for being more confident. And I think this is truly, truly very important, because going back to our thermostat analogy, obviously now your circle of people who are around you will impact your thermostat. Because the people who, if you're constantly surrounded by, for example, people who are very fit and are obsessed with the gym, you will eventually start working out, because you know it's a good influence. But at the same time, if you're surrounded by people who have unhealthy habits, you will slowly sink into it. And I think that's the problem. Our circle really determines who we are. I think there's a thing that you are the average of the 5 people that you see most regularly or something, right? And I think that's really important. And I'm not saying cut people off, I'm not saying let go of people, but you can choose and evaluate the proximity of people to you. And therefore, you know, someone might be really good for you, they bring you up and they make you feel good about yourself, you keep that person close. But if someone always brings you down, always questions what you're doing, makes you feel a bit less confident in yourself, or even has habits that are not good for you, then you keep that person a little bit further away, just so that they affect your thermostat a bit less. And I think that's really crucial, because this is something all of us struggle with, is especially as adults, is how to handle adult relationship and what is a good distance to have with someone. Because if you have the wrong person close to you, really bad for you, because they will not only affect your thermostat, where now external conditions are going to affect you, and your confidence just goes up and down, up and down, up and down. But at the same time, you can pick up bad habits, you can have like permanent changes in who you are that you did not want in a negative way, kind of thing, right? And that's why we should choose our circle very carefully, very, very carefully. I've been burnt many times, and I can tell you that you can feel the difference in energy, the difference in how you feel after you hang out with people, and that makes a huge difference to your confidence, because some people have the ability to build you up, but some people will bring you down slowly, and you might not recognize it in the first few times, but gradually, slowly, they will bring you down. So you need to be very, very, very cutthroat with your inner circle and make sure that you choose well who are the people in your life. But at the same time, the other thing that I want to talk to you about is compassion and empathy. Obviously here we're talking about human connections, right? Once you have your inner circle and you have all the people that you usually hang out with, your family, your friends, your colleagues, these people now, you need to be able to interact with them in a good way. And I think listening is key. And a confident person is always listening, paying attention, because one, they want to learn, they want to grow, they care about what the other person has to say, and there's not this constant need to prove themselves. So they don't feel the need to like show how intelligent they are or prove their point, but they're just there to listen and engage with another human being. And again, that builds up your confidence. When you build up your listening skills, you feel more relaxed and confident in yourself, because you don't feel this need to constantly be talking or like having a point to prove, right? And this also listening leads to compassion and empathy. Compassion reminds you that not everyone is perfect. So we're a bit more accepting of others, but also of ourselves, right? We're a bit less critical and less judgmental when we are not perfect. So again, this builds up our confidence of not having this need to be constantly perfect in order to believe in ourselves, right? Or others. So then when we work more on this like empathy muscle by, you know, listening to others, being compassionate to them, being understanding of who they are, then it also feeds into our own confidence, because we see how not everyone has it easy. We don't have it easy, but at the same time, I am compassionate to others. That same empathy muscle will also work for yourself, and you will start feeling a bit more empathetic to yourself. It is okay to be wrong, and we need to understand that, which is why we don't need to be confident only when we are perfect and we are prepared or we look our best. That is not the only times when you should feel confident. It's okay to be wrong. It's okay to feel like we did not do very well today. It's okay to feel like we don't look our best. Because confidence is innate. We should still feel that way. And that comes from empathy, having empathy for others and having empathy for ourselves. And again, this also disrupts this whole spotlight effect, where we are not keeping an eye on each other, constantly watching, but we are there to offer a helping hand, you know, and human connection is just incredibly beautiful. So that's why we need to keep working towards being more compassionate to others and ourselves and building these human connections. And I know it can be hard to also talk to people when you're not used to talking to strangers. I am lucky that it comes to me very easy to talk to just about anyone. But I think practicing small talk is a very good skill, because it will be hard the first few times. You will feel a bit anxious to go up to people and talk to them. I've seen my friends try to do it, but I can assure you that after you do it after a few times, it becomes very easy. For me, I hate networking because it is just like forced socialization. If it was the same group of people and I just had to, you know, hang out with them, I would happily talk to everybody. But once there is this branded thing of it's networking, I find it so hard to do. But then I learned the skills of just going up to someone, having small talk with them, and gradually you start building a connection, and it might not happen, you move on to the next person, but you are developing the skills of being able to approach people and talk to them. Step one of building the human connection. And what I meant by social optimism, now that I've done this whole detour, is to also be positive when you are approaching a relationship, a social interaction, whatever it is, be positive about it. You know, even for me, you know, I had some like IT issues, and I always panic because I knew it was something that I did, and I had to go ask for help from the IT department, and you always think, oh no, they're not going to be happy. But then I thought to myself, why do I think that? They've only ever been helpful. So, you know, instead of thinking that way and then making myself feel scared to talk to them, and therefore I feel a bit less confident in approaching that conversation, but instead if I just change the narrative in my mind and I say, no, let's be positive, these are good people, they're really nice to me, even if it's my mistake, they will understand, and just go in with that positive attitude, you feel a lot more confident to approach them and to ask for help. And again, that is really important in order to bring people together, because we all need each other, and that's how we live a happy and fulfilled life. After all of this mush, I hope this was helpful. This is a topic that has been quite close to my heart because I get asked this a lot, and I genuinely want to help. And I've tried to do a lot of research, I've asked a lot of people, I've read a lot about it, and I think I rambled a lot, but because this is, you know, it's about emotions, it's about how we feel, and it's really hard to be concise and factual, but I hope that this was helpful. And also Lana Blakely also did a video recently about confidence, and I really like the quote that she put in hers, which was that a bird sitting on a tree is never afraid of the branch breaking because its trust is not on the branch but on its own wings. And this is by Charlie Waddle. And I think this is so beautiful. If you can take anything from this video, take this message home, is that you do not need to trust in the external conditions. They might be hard, they might be challenging, they might really test you, but you need to believe in your abilities to get through everything and be confident in the fact that you have what it takes, you know, and also be confident that we're cool, we got this, you know. Life is hard, but it's hard for everybody in any way, and you know, just we got this, you know, and this is what confidence is at the end of the day. I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions, if you have any advice for other people about how to be confident, leave them in the comment section below. I really want to interact with you guys on this video, so, you know, feel free to like send me DMs, comment on this video, and subscribe to the channel if you think this is something that you like, and let me know if there's anything else related to this that you'd like to see. And until then, thank you for being here, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.